So let's lock in and dive into Law 16 of the 48 Laws of Power through the lens of truth. The overview of Law 16 says, use absence to increase respect and honor. Once you've become well known and admired, use absence to increase respect and honor. The more you're seen and heard from, after a certain point, the more you cheapen your brand. People will lose interest and respect for you. But if you make yourself scarce for a while, you'll renew people's respect and appreciation. In will and power, both presence and absence are key concepts. According to Law 16 of the 48 Laws of Power, with a strong presence, you attract attention and overshadow everyone else. But if you overdo it and become ubiquitous, people will stop paying attention to you and will lose respect and power. This is where absence comes in. You can preserve and enhance your status by withdrawing at the right moment, just before people start getting tired of you. Can I ask you something? Why do we be pretending to know the things that we be pretending that we know? Why do we pretend that we could even possibly ever acquire the factual information about the things that we be pretending that we know? For instance, once you have become well known and admired, how do you know you are well known or admired? What is well known to you? That's very subjective. Well known to somebody from Ocala could be, I'm known by the 14 families that make up the inner population of the city. Well known in New York means a totally different thing. So the observation of when to pull the plug on your presence so that you can increase your value already is a gamble and requires you to have the ability to make observations of things that are not even factually present to observe. Once you are well known, once you are admired, or once you have begin to look out and interpret the actions that people are directing towards you as them admiring and liking you, which one is it? Are you genuinely sure that you're admired now because they've told you directly? Or are you interpreting their actions towards you and making it mean what you think it means through the partnership of the ego and the legion of voices that roars on inside of you? Which one is it? You gotta pay close attention to the fact that the same system that taught you out of sight, out of mind, is the same system that is now promoting that absence is power. They told you before that absence was dangerous because absence could get you left out, because when you absent, you ain't on nobody's mind. And if you ain't on nobody's mind, ain't nobody gonna be reaching in their pockets on your behalf. But then they turned around and they told you that once you begin to make some traction in the society's striving of status and stature, remove yourself from the scene so that you don't drain people of your existence, so that people don't become tired of you. Make them want you more by leaving and removing the presence that you provided to even observe that they were beginning to admire you in the first place. That thing that you saw was working, stop doing it, and your level of progress is gonna increase. Name one other place besides in our imaginations inside of this social game that we play amongst one another where things operate that way. Remember, we keep having the recurring conversation about these weird appetites that we have developed inside of the darkness and ignorance of who we really are, where we come from, and what it all means. We've developed strange appetites as we desire for people to respect us. We desire for people to honor us. And let's be real. In this context, respect. Is it that you desire that someone looks at you and sees everything that they are and operate in accordance with it in general? They don't make you special. They don't put you on a pedestal. They don't esteem you. They don't merely acknowledge your existence. You want people to make everything about you. You want them to flatter you. You want them to make you feel as confident as you have made yourself insecure. You want to tell yourself all the negatives about yourself and then go around other people and hope that they recognize positives in you. And when they don't, you leave disappointed in yourself and them. People are going to regurgitate and kick back at you what you are focused on the inside of yourself. The conversation on the inside of you spills out to in front of you and is kicked back towards you just in case you missed it. And that's a gift. It's a gift that the people in front of you are insulting you, and they seem to be using the information that you gave in transparency to break you down. But what they're really doing is regurgitating what you are using against yourself to break yourself down. They're just trying to expose to you, unconsciously, of course. They might think it's an attack. They want it to be an attack. They might want it to hurt, but it shouldn't, because you should be abiding in truth. You should have your eye set on the things above. You should be recognizing the reality of your surroundings. Not getting caught up in illusions with illusionary players. Not letting people drag you from illusion to illusion just because they're tied up with one. Your preoccupation with something non-beneficial and something completely imaginary has nothing to do with me. If I walk in and I see you talking to your imaginary friend, I do not have to sit down and join the conversation. If I see you engaging in a game that I do not understand and I was not invited to, I do not. Kids don't even do that. That's the crazy thing. We call adults that operate in ways that are close to what children do childish, but they're not even childish, because that child first day at that daycare, he or she probably didn't walk in there and do some of the things that you have done by forcing your way inside of the dysfunctional narratives and games that other people that you didn't even genuinely know in truth and in fact were playing. You should have left them people alone and tended to your own business. Not only have we developed a strange appetite of wanting respect and wanting honor, wanting to be acknowledged, wanting to be esteemed, wanting to be placed on a pedestal, wanting to be the God, director, the light, the way, the path, the voice for everyone that we're connected to, wanting to be superior in every way that we can, wanting to outdo and supersede everyone around us in every way possible. But we want even more of that. When we get our portion that we've strived for of that, we want more. So there are laws like Principle 16 in the 48 Laws of Power that tell you how to manipulate people into giving you more acknowledgement and flattery so that you'll return. Understand, it's just people paying what you are making the price for your presence and your value on the inside. What's crazy is you're so quick to make other people pay for what was given to you freely. The value on the inside of you was given to you freely, and you've been making people pay for that emotionally, psychologically, physically, materially. You have manipulated so many people for you to utilize and extend the gift of yourself to them, to the point that when somebody asks you for a favor, you literally go inside into this inner debate of how it could possibly help or benefit you before you carry it out. And if you can't find a way that it benefits or suits you, you don't do it. And you're probably not even going to tell them honestly, hey, I'm not doing this because there's no value in it for me. You're going to make up an excuse. You're going to lie. You're going to avoid the fact that you're selfish and you have absolutely no desire to care for another person in a way that doesn't fit your selfish desires for yourself. What is it that we need to be saved from other than our endless pursuits that derive from our vain imaginations? The truth sets us free by bringing us into the realization that what we have been distracted chasing after to no avail has been extended to us freely by inheritance, taken and misused. You did not reject the gift of life. You've been using it without the knowledge of how it works. Think about the story of the prodigal son in the scripture text of the Bible. There is a boy who goes to his father prematurely and he demands his inheritance early. The father, being a good father, as a reflection in the story of the creator of all and our father, who only responds in yes and more, extends to the son the gift of his inheritance early. The son takes the inheritance, leaves the father's house, squanders it, finds himself in a pigsty, comes to himself, and says, even the lowly servants in his father's house live better than he has found himself in the darkness and ignorance of the pursuit of what he thought he wanted for himself. In him thinking he knew a will for himself that was opposite of the Father's will, he found himself in a pigsty. And he returns to the Father's house. The Father restores him as a son, throws a party for him, and gives him room in the very place that he abandoned. This is not a story about something that took place 2,000 years ago or before that. This is a picture of what you and I were given at our creation. Not our birth, our creation. But you took the gift of life and you have been on an endless pursuit to find all of the many things that were given to you freely. And you've been trying to purchase them. You've been trying to earn them. You've been trying to connect yourself to external beings that you find yourself around, admiring and honoring and esteeming and envying and wanting to be like. So you model your presentation after theirs because in your eyes it's worked. But when you talk to them, they're just as confused as you. They're just as distracted as you. It always appears that some compromises are better than others, but they all lead to the same place. Nowhere. You were given the gift of life. Just the son was given his inheritance. He just misused it. He was given the inheritance. He just didn't know what to do with it. He had everything from birth. He just didn't realize it. He thought there was something else somewhere else. So he went in pursuit of it, and he found that there was nothing outside of the Father's house that was suitable for the Father's son. So he returned back to the place that fit him, the place that he was designed for, the place that gave him the power and dominion to never suffer or have to go without. The prodigal son is you and I. The pigsty is the lie and the illusions that has become our day-to-day life. The pigsty is the ego. The coming to is the awakening to the truth, the shaking, the stirring of the gift on the inside that was freely deposited inside of every human being that there is. You've been creating daily. That is the gift that was extended to you. You cannot not create. Even to sit still and adopt the idea that you will not create is nothing more than the attempt to operate as you are not. When you say you're not going to create, what you create is the illusion that you are not creating. You sit inside of many situations and circumstances, all of which derive from the inside of you and things that you partner with unconsciously, paradigms and broken beliefs that you've carried, superstitions that you've submitted to, things that you just assume to be. And they harden into fact, and you get exactly what you asked for as you sit and say, I'm not doing anything. I didn't ask for anything. And that's what makes it hard for some people to come into partnership with the truth and the reality of universal law and the fact that they are the sole creator in their experience. They love to blame other people. It's really convenient to the ego to blame other people. It's really convenient to pretend that the things that you're going through come from or derive from some other source, that somebody else is attacking you. It's so convenient to pretend that the things that you are dealing with in your life do not derive from the inner conversations and the things that you have given attention to. It's so convenient in the moment, only to the ego. It is what keeps the ego alive. It is what keeps you partnered with the ego. It's what keeps you listening to the ego's voices as if there's value inside of what is being presented. The fact that you will not acknowledge the idiocracy and the circular pattern that you have been operating on is what keeps you going in more circles. The moment that you see the lack of value in the system that you've been operating from, you will stop partnering with it and you'll find another system. Most of the time, we find sister systems of compromise, which are just other compromises. And all compromises, like we said earlier, lead to the same place, which is nowhere. Back to the beginning for us to find a new compromise and turn another circle. There's but one way. There's but one way out. What is it that we need to be saved from, other than our endless pursuits that derived from our vain imaginations? What else is it that we need to be saved from, other than the ignorance that keeps us in pursuit of what is already freely ours, bestowed upon us from creation? But you, not knowing that it is yours, have gone out in an attempt to claim it by false measures. You've gone out in attempts to steal it from other people by forcing them to like you, respect you, honor you, and then removing yourself and hoping that they'll demand you even more and be willing to extend more financial capital for you to return. It's stupid. Why not just partner with the fact that infinite abundance flows through you and all belongs to you, and the gift of life has enabled you to be capable of all things? So whatever you set your hand to must turn to gold, not because of superstition or scripture, but because you are a creation of the divine who only responds with yes and more to everything you ask. But you have been asking for more of the dysfunction and chaos that you watch on TV. You have been asking for the things that you listen to inside of the music presentations. You have been asking for the things that are familiar to you from the dysfunctional patterns that you call your past and your childhood. You've been asking for more of the same, and you've been being responded to with yes and more. You got to see the lack of value inside of what you've been experiencing. You have to stop looking back on the past, turning into the pillar of salt, being destroyed with the past that you refuse to let go of because you keep missing the present moment that is the escape. Not only have we craved unnatural things like respect and acknowledgement and the host of other things that we know that word is indicating in this context of others, and the honor that they bestow on you and their ignorance of the source within you and them that leads you to greatness. Literally. For somebody to honor you, they have to be misled by either you and them, or them and your silent partnership with what they believe to be true. That there is something that you are doing that they're not capable of. That there is something that you're doing that you're capable of by any other measure or means than the capacity that the source, the same source that created them, has enabled you with. And you need to stop lying to them people. You need to stop lying to yourself. You think that there is goodness and value in you that is not connected to the divine source that is in you. You have been completely ignorant and absent to the fact that the divine source has been in you and flowed through you your entire existence. But your entire lifetime, if you were honest with me right now, You have always thought that there was goodness in you. So where did you think that that goodness flowed from, other than you? You are never the author of goodness. Goodness is always an extension of the source that created whatever you are looking at and determining is good. And all things that you are looking at in reality and fact are good. You desire to extend the amounts of respect and honor that others extend to you so that you can leverage it into more influence and more power, because it's never enough. Because in reality, it's nothing at all. What you acquire every time that you strive to have people respect and honor you, your payment is in reality absolutely nothing. But you get more of the shadow and form of respect and honor, which is what you have grown an appetite for, because it's what you're familiar with, because it's what's been being extended to you since you were a toddler. I can't help but go down to the next paragraph. I know we normally don't go so deep into the actual text of the 48 laws, but this one is just way too good to sidestep. Law 16 says the cycle of seduction and love works this way. When your lover begins taking you for granted, pull away for a while without explanation. Your absence regenerates the person's desire for you, and when you return, he or she cherishes and respects you again. Stop playing. Those are shadows and forms. This person doesn't respect you or honor you or cherish you, and never did. Love doesn't work like this at all. Love isn't conditional. Love doesn't cut on and cut off. If you love me, no matter where you find me and what condition I'm in, what lie or what truth I'm partnered with in that moment, you are extending to me everything that you are extending to yourself, because the only way to love me is to first love yourself. So when you drop the ball, you might keep it real with yourself. You might hold you accountable, but you ain't trying to permanently disconnect from yourself. You ain't telling yourself that you ain't gonna never talk to yourself again. You giving yourself some little pep talks. You picking yourself up off the ground and you going at it for another shot. And that's what you extend to the people that you love when they drop the ball in your sight, by your interpretation, because of the way you have judged the moment that you have shared with them. You operate in love and you forgive that. You move forward in agreement and partnership, freely extending nothing but more of the same that you gave them prior to that moment that you found them in error. That's love. And if somebody loses interest in you, they lose the desire to be around you, connected to you, or to interact with you, then you need to go about your business. You don't need to be running plays trying to strategically get them back, because after you get them back with this little strategic play, it's going to take another strategic play to keep them in place, and you're going to be running in circles, jumping hurdles to keep somebody around that isn't even extending to you love. You're paying for them to poorly perform in a role that somebody could feel genuinely. Or you can cut all of that out and you can operate in that role for yourself. But all of the attention that you've been given to this person who's been given back to you, nothing but dysfunction. But this person that you've been trying to pay with your performance to stick around is nothing but a distraction from what you really should be focused on. And that's you and your source. You do understand that you are your father's treasure, right? I know you don't understand that. And that's cool. If you understood that you were your creator, your source's treasure, then your source, your creator, would become your treasure. And that union, that partnership, that closeness would enable you to accomplish anything you set your mind to. And you would only set your mind to supernatural feats because your eye is on the things above. And the low vibrating pursuits on the physical plane no longer consume you and distract you from the things that you were truly designed and purposed to accomplish. Bro, these mosquitoes crazy tonight. I swear Bill Gates must have just let a new batch out or something. But look, check this out. I want to look at chapter 8, the journey back, and A Course in Miracles before we slide, right? The part we're looking at is the treasure of God. It reads, the world can add nothing to the power and the glory of God and his holy sons, but it can blind the sons to the Father if they behold it. Behold what? The world, right? So the world can add nothing to the power of the glory of God and his holy sons, but it can blind the sons to the Father if they behold the world. You cannot behold the world and know God. All right. Only one is true. All right. I am come to tell you that the choice of which is true is not yours to make. It's not up to you. You don't get to decide what's facts and what's fiction. You have never walked in the library and the librarian asked you which section the book belongs in. The books are categorized already by which they are in truth. All right. If it were, you would have destroyed yourself. So if you got to determine what was true and what was not, you would have already destroyed yourself many, many times. I agree with that if you don't. Yet God did not will the destruction of his creations, having created them for eternity. His will has saved you, not from yourself, but from your illusion of yourself. He has saved you for yourself. You haven't been saved from someone else. You haven't been saved from an outside threat. You haven't been saved from yourself. You have been saved from your partnership in who you believe to be. Look at this mosquito. You haven't been saved from an outside terror. You haven't been saved from yourself. You've been saved from your imagination of who you think you are, and you've been carrying out every day in partnership with who you think you are, instead of in the truth of who you are. And that is what the truth sets us free from. It sets us free from who we believe we are, so that we can stop operating in accordance with who we think we are, and we can partner with who we are in truth. Let us glorify him who the world denies, for over his kingdom the world has no power. No one created by God can find joy in anything except the eternal, not because he is deprived of anything else, but because nothing else is worthy of him. You can afford to do whatever you want, but you can never pay for the satisfaction of your soul and your insides. You will not be satisfied with anything that is not eternal, as your own nature is. Just like your ego is not satisfied unless you are inside of an illusion, as it is. I told y'all before, birds of a feather flock together is more true of principles than it is of people any day. Listen to the story of the prodigal son and learn what God's treasure is and yours. This son of a loving father left his home and thought he had squandered everything for nothing of any value. Although he had not understood its worthlessness at the time, he was ashamed to return to his father because he thought he had hurt him. Yet when he came home, the father welcomed him with joy because the son himself was his father's treasure. He wanted nothing else. God wants only his son because his son is his only treasure. You want your creations as he wants his. Have you ever thought about how much you want the things that you want? You will literally burn everything down to the ground to get what you want. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with yourself. In the same way you desire those things that keep you running in circles and returning to places that you don't even want to be, connected to people, laying with them, so that you can benefit. Okay, we're not even going to do that right now. We're not even going to do that, because some of y'all really be taking bruises and abuse behind the pursuit of the worthless things that you try to acquire. An unwilling will does not mean anything. Being a contradiction in terms, that actually means nothing. When you think you are unwilling to will with God, you are not thinking. God's will is thought. It cannot be contradicted by thought. God does not contradict himself, and his sons who are like him cannot contradict themselves or him. Yet their thought is so powerful that they can even imprison the mind of God's Son if they choose. That's what we've chosen, not even knowing. The sooner you admit it, the sooner you can be excused. This choice does make the Son's function unknown to him, but never to his Creator. And because it is not unknown to his Creator, it is forever knowable to him. Oh man, that's good. That's good stuff. I don't even want to go any further. Let's wrap this up tonight. Lock in.